All right, and I think Josh from Shift Beers is going to give us a Twisted Tea tip. So here's Josh with just the tip.
Come to BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, and you guys can serve your own beer. Josh's Twisted Tea tips of the day.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is the podcast where my co-hosts and I listen to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts from the previous week. We get together here at our podcast host, BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, and give our version of the truth of how those podcasts went. Hopefully there aren't too many consequences from the hosts of the other shows. So far, so good. I am Marco. I'm a brewer and a bartender here locally, and I'm about to introduce the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I'm Julia. You didn't actually introduce me. I still had to introduce myself.
That's actually part of the fun.
But hey, it's all good.
It's all good. Joke, actually.
I love it. I love it so much. I am Julia, and I am a drinker of all of the craft beer in the Cincinnati area. I like to write funny things about Beer Vent, which heads up to all of you Beer Vent lovers. Beer Vent pre-sale is happening July the 1st at the Higher Gravity website, so check it out. Oh yeah.
Yeah, go to the website. Don't show up and ask.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, they're not going to know what to do. They could.
There's email things and things like that. Like you need to. Yeah, it's better just buy it on the website.
And you heard a third voice coming across the radio waves, the podcast waves.
Yeah,
the microwaves.
It's basically radio.
It's radio. It's radio that you can repeat play whenever you want to. Who do we have joining us tonight?
Yes, I am Joe. I am the co-host of the Craft Parenting Podcast with my wife, Caroline.
I'm sorry. How do you say that again?
Caroline.
Excellent.
He's also the Michael Jackson of German dancing.
He is such the German dancing legend that in countries across the pond, across the ocean, they cannot wait for you to come back.
I heard that on a recent episode of this podcast that I listened to.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for being here with us.
Yes.
Caroline, Caroline, thank you for watching the kids and letting Joe come out of the basement to hang out and drink with us for the night.
Joe flung the door open.
He just ran
and started dancing. It was almost like river dance, but German dancing. You're like, oh shit, that's the Michael Jackson of German dancing.
And I am wearing a lederhosen too.
He is.
Yes,
he walked in, and I mean,
the live stream members there.
They're right there. They're right there.
Oh, they're right there. Okay, they can see. You know, Julia, Marco, on the way here, I passed a tow truck. And the poor driver was crying his eyes out.
Why?
Well, he must have been headed for a breakdown.
We were hoping so bad that you would have dad jokes for us. And you are starting this episode off amazing. Holy shit. I love it. I love that so much. But yeah, so to try to like rein in this cacophony of just awesomeness.
Yeah.
We are, all things considered, a craft beer podcast.
Yeah. And thank you. Of course, to everyone who's been around for a while. I truly appreciate your listenership. Thank you to all the new listeners. And Julia, as you were saying, no craft beer podcast would be a good one without craft beer, right?
It's true.
Yeah. So what are you drinking, Julia? Or what are you eating, Julia?
So our amazing podcast host, BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, this past weekend was Father's Day weekend. They had a whole event where they smoked a hog. Dad smokes and pig jokes is how I want to say it.
That's good.
But producer Brian...
No, that's your truth.
It is my truth. And producer Brian, who does not listen to any podcast, can suck it because he wanted to make sure that I said it correctly every single time, but he's not here.
Suck it, Brian.
Yeah, come on, Brian. But no, they still had some smoked pork and barbecue left. And so producer Ben, who is, I'm going to say it, the best producer of all the producers.
Ooh, there we go.
Because he gave me food.
Do you know what the B in BC stands for?
Ben.
No, suck
And
it.
Ben, oh.
Stands for suck it.
But aside from this plate of smoked pork and barbecue sauce that I will dig into momentarily, I am drinking a pineapple variant of # whatever, depending on how old you are, no filter from Grainworks. So # no filter, pineapple variant, Grainworks Brewing. It's fucking great. I love it.
It is very good.
Joe, what are you drinking? Normally we let the guests kind of start with this, but because I had a plate of food in my face, you threw me under the bus there.
No, that's
fine.
fine. I'm also drinking a Grainworks beer. It's the Helles Real. It's a Helles Lager, 4.7%, and it is delicious, especially because it is freaking hot out.
Oh my God, it's so hot out there.
It is very warm.
But it's not as humid as it was last week.
Oh.
I'm not saying it's comfortable out
was
there,
rough.
but it's at least a tiny smidgen better.
Right. Yeah. And I am having a Kurz Banquet
With
a lime blocks.
blocks is the way to do your beer if you don't have enough variance in your beer already. So I have, you know what? I bet the either lime or strawberry blocks would amplify the pineapple in this. Maybe I'll have, once I kind of drink down a little bit, maybe I'll have producer Ben break out another blocks for
might
me
be good.
because blocks is awesome. Blocks, please sponsor an episode
Yeah,
or two.
Blocks.
Or show up to BC's and be on the show with us. We
Show
would love
up,
that.
Be
If you
on
wanna-
the pod and sponsor.
Yes, or if you would like to just support the show in any way, shape, or form, you can do that by liking, subscribing, sharing, reviewing, all of that good stuff. Follow us on social media. We are at Truth Beer Pod everywhere. You can email us, truthbeerpod@gmail.com. And if you would like to monetarily donate to us to help us upgrade our equipment, get closer to video content, and to buy more blocks, you can do that at truthbeerpod.com.
Julia, Marco, before we move on, you will
Sure.
notice that in all of your platinum
Patreon
Patreon
video watchers.
members on the live stream, you
Yes.
will notice that I have grown some facial hair
You have.
recently.
You have. I didn't recognize you
I
when
knew
you
it
came
was
in.
gonna happen.
So between
They
the facial
probably
hair and the
dropped, too.
between the facial hair and the lederhosen, I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
I didn't like my beard at first, but then it grew on me.
It's here all day, folks.
So this is.
Try the special.
I'm just gonna say this is the only reason we wanted you on the show because we were lacking in dad jokes, and this is
Yeah.
spectacular. This is so good. I love it.
All right, y'all, watch out. Joe's
All
on
right.
one.
Okay. So let me see if I can rein in all the cats. This is a podcast about other beer podcasts, other Cincinnati craft beer podcasts. So let's go through the list of what
Yes.
came out this past week.
Okay.
See what we all listened to, and figure out what we're going to talk about first.
Okay.
Shift Beers, one of the most ridiculous fun shows. Did you listen, Marco, or were you more involved with this episode?
Yes.
This week. All right, Joe.
Yeah.
Shift Beers?
I heard about that. I heard that.
All right.
The most recent episode.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hustle and Brews. We finally got a new Hustle and Brews. I know that Matt was going through just a whole bunch of stuff, which is perfectly fine, but very excited to see another episode come out. Joe, did you happen to catch that one?
I missed that one.
Okay. Well, we will have you make up some stuff about it while we
yeah,
go over
for
it.
sure.
Yeah.
Marco, you
I
good
did.
with that?
Yeah, I listened to it. Yep.
Excellent. So, Joe, this is a really, really cool one that I don't know if you've ever heard of before. So, if you haven't heard it, that's cool.
Okay.
Craft Parenting Podcast.
Craft Parenting Podcast.
Isn't it the best name?
That's a good
It's a
name.
really good name for a podcast. Have you?
I hear
did
they
you-
have a guy who does a website and he does all the technical work. But no, I've never heard of that. I never heard an episode.
There are two
Okay.
people that drink beer and have a parenting problem or
Oh,
something.
yeah. Okay, that
It
sounds
really
familiar.
cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so you haven't listened to the episode?
No, I have not.
All right, well that'll be fun. Marco, do you?
Two episodes that he hasn't
There we-
listened to.
I'm telling
He
you
picked
know
the right
what?
week to be
I'm
here.
telling you, this is going to
know.
be great. Okay, here we go. Get ready, guys. The Cincinnati Brewcast.
All right, drink.
We got a drink.
Oh, okay. Cheers.
Did that one on purpose, guys. With Chef Tony. Did you guys both catch that one?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I did. I got that one.
All right, and then I know we always said that Shift Beers was our favorite show to recap. This one may have overwritten them for me. Brews Guys Happy Hour. We got a new episode.
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay, so
I
you
listened.
listen.
I did.
I really enjoy this podcast.
Oh my God, it's so good.
They have such good chemistry.
It is so good. And they have amazing chemistry, and the guests that they have been able to get on their show are ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as a home brewer who hasn't homebrewed in over a year because of kids,
It's
it was
amazing
really
the
good.
guests they get.
Damn
I'm glad that
kids. Yeah.
after we were too busy to get those guests on our pod, that they were
Right.
able to get them on
Right.
Brew Sky's Happy Hour.
So that was absolutely our plan. But I mean, we just didn't have the time with all the other podcasts to review to get these heavy hitters on our show.
Right.
So, Joe, as the guest, what podcast would you like to start off with on our recap?
Let's switch it up. Can we do shift beers
Or
first?
we should. Hell
Sure.
yeah, absolutely. We
Sure.
can
It was
start with
kind of
whatever you
a
want.
Sure.
it was a
Guest
short
can pick.
episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was. Episode 85, Holy BC's Batman was the title, so you'll never guess where they recorded this episode at.
Higher Gravity Summit Park.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
So the entire gang showed up at BC's one day and ran into our favorite podcast host, the Gnome. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. My son Vincent.
Vincent. Vincent is the soda crusher. Vincent is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I miss seeing him around here. But no, you were hanging out here. They showed up. They had some new tech that they wanted to test out, and lo and behold, we got a slightly shorter than normal episode of Shift Beers, but still
was
an
good.
incredibly fun episode of Shift Beers.
This episode had one of my least favorite guests on the show. And obviously, I'm talking about Chris.
Yes, I mean,
Right.
who
Exactly.
that
He's-
guy.
He's back from vacation.
That guy, he is.
Yeah.
He is. And he tries to make it all about him all the time.
He's got a stupid looking mohawk.
Did he have that when he was here on Friday recording, or is that
no,
brand
no,
new?
it's fresh mohawk.
All right, so try to find a picture of Chris online somewhere. He now is rocking a hawk.
Yeah.
Is that what the kids say?
I don't know. Rocking the hawk.
When I first tuned in, I thought I was listening to the wrong show.
I
Yes.
mean, it was very,
Little
very,
bit of that.
very easy mistake to make. Yeah,
Yeah.
they the intro sounded very similar
right.
to ours.
Or
So-
to the beginning of a 70s porn.
yeah, maybe that's what they were going for. I was gonna.
I've never seen a 70s porn.
I was gonna call
but
them
you
out
gotta
for like
expand your
IP
horizons, Joe.
theft. Hair everywhere, just everywhere, literally. So it sounds like from the episode that disc golf is both Chris and Danny from Sonder Stories' kryptonite. Like it's one of those things where they just can't hack it. It
It's
just
weird
brings them down
because-
every single time.
Yeah, it's weird because they both show up, with the bag with like 20 discs.
Yes.
So I mean, you
Yes,
think
they did. A backpack's worth.
you think they're like they immediately give off expert, and then I guess
And
being
then they throw the-
outside is kryptonite or something. I don't
Well,
know.
then they throw the disc and they just can't find it, so they just have to keep buying more discs over and over and over. I mean, that's how I play. Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Is there like a beginner set at Costco with like 20 different discs?
Probably the Costco special,
Right.
the Crisco special. Sixtels and slow pour relay race.
Yep.
That's something that you guys talked about. Just keeping those taps running, just glass after glass. You never stop pouring. How long would it take if you had the right team together to blow that keg? I think it's a challenge that the podcasters of Cincinnati should take on.
I think it's a great
I think it's
idea.
awesome.
I think it'd be a lot of fun, and of course we'd all do it responsibly, except for Josh.
Could do a charity thing. Kick the cake charity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be
Yes.
fantastic.
To the underperforming disc golf association. So who could drink who under the table, Joe? You were Caroline.
Ooh, our tolerance has deeply gone way
for
down.
people.
So you're saying the kids would be drinking you guys under the table?
I mean, we can still drink. We are professional.
You're still
drinkers.
German.
Yeah,
you're
we're
still
German.
there. Hell yeah.
But I don't know if I can do 126 pints.
Ooh,
Well,
I mean,
we're not asking you to do 126
Well, but
pints
that's-
on your own.
That's the genius about a relay. It's one of those. There
Yeah.
may be 100. How many pints are in a typical sixtel, Marco? as the professional brewer amongst us?
Oh shit.
Just average. Just average.
Ask-
Make
ask
up a number. Make up. What is our?
I think
truth?
it's about 124 for half barrel.
Okay.
So you got to divide that by 3.
That's math. So that'd be 40 or 50-ish, something
Yeah, okay.
random.
Sure.
I'm thinking 12 divided by 3. And
All
that's
right.
40. Or, well,
Let's go with that.
120. Sure. So that actually, if a 6-hole is roughly, we'll just say 50 pints. We'll just round up. We'll make it a bigger number. And check our math and add us at Truth Beer Pod, or don't, because you just heard me say we don't actually do math on this show.
Right.
That, if you have just say a 6-person team, that's not, depending on the amount of time
Yeah.
that you have. So let's just say BC's open to close, 3-ish to 9-ish. We'll just use the weekday hours, not a weekend hour. That would be entirely possible. We'd all have bad days the next day, probably. Maybe. Some of us.
Some of us.
Some of us would
it's
handle
a
it better
regular
than
day.
others.
It just, you never know.
I thought that was
It
awesome.
depends on the beer, though, right?
That too.
Right.
That too. If it's something that's on the slow pour tab, it would probably be Pilsner, some type of a lager, that type of thing.
Well, something easy drinking is what we'd want to
Right.
go with, right? I mean,
Right.
and you know, we don't want it to be all heavy, high ABV or have lactose. I mean, we want to make it even
you're
across
not
the
looking
board.
for the Alexandria Brewing 14% IPA that they're going to be releasing later this summer.
Oh, I bet I'd crush that.
I mean, well, but a whole 6 of it as a relay race?
Not by myself.
There
but
you
yeah,
go.
with a team.
There you go. Let's see, what else was there? Josh censored, when he was editing this episode, a whole lot about PBR, it sounded like. Every time you guys started talking about PBR, there was a beep, there was
Yeah.
a censor mark.
Yeah, there was
makes
some-
me very curious.
There
as to
there
what
was
you
some
guys were talking
discussion that we just, I'm sure Josh just felt it was better off not out in the public. And you know what?
That's fair. That's fine.
responsible podcasting, right?
I just figured
It's
I'd poke fun at it.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I did
all-
say that in my notes that they had a potty mouth in this episode.
Yeah, bleeping out a bunch. It's like, my God, what are they saying that they should not be saying
Right.
on? I almost said on the radio. It's close
Again?
enough. On the Mexican radio. It's fine. I'm old. It's good.
The Mexican radio.
It's
I've never
cool.
heard that before.
All right, so this is my fact check moment of the episode where I was screaming into the air while you guys were all talking about Jurassic Park.
Oh, I want to know if we have the same thing.
Jeff Goldblum.
No.
Oh,
Brad
okay, cool. So
Bellflower?
two things. So Jeff Goldblum did not lose his leg in the original Jurassic Park. It was cut, and he had to put a tourniquet on his own leg when they found him and picked him up off the ground.
Yeah.
So there was no leg loss. There was no need for him to have a cane or any type of walking assistance apparatus in the newest Jurassic Park that came out. So I just wanted to make sure that I know that was probably bugging all of the Shift Beers folks and you, Marco. What happened to Jeff Goldblum in that very first Jurassic Park?
I haven't slept a full night since then.
Since then, yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that. And
You're
now
welcome.
hopefully I could sleep better.
Good.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum is fine. He didn't get
Good.
hurt at all. Well,
Good.
he got hurt.
Well, but it wasn't anything to where he lost a limb or
Right,
life or
yeah.
anything like that. Right, right.
Anyone that got attacked by a dinosaur in Jurassic Park, they pretty much died.
I'm sure
Correct.
his super
Spoilers.
young, like 30-something-year-old wife is very happy that he didn't lose any limbs.
So
Hey,
before we get into the meat of what the theme of this episode,
meat.
Joe, did you have any other comments on drinking, which took up more than half of the episode as usual?
Well, it was a shorter episode.
It was a
too.
shorter episode,
Yeah.
but it was still over half.
I have 2
drinking.
points.
Which is fine.
That's par for the course.
I was going to say spoiler alert for the new Jurassic Park movie. Mm-hmm. And no theater beers.
This is true.
No, he did. He did. He
Oh, was that one of the censored? I don't remember.
I think I forget where they talked about it. But he did. He had theater beers. He snuck them in his cargo pants.
Cargo pants are the way to go.
And in the drinking, I was very impressed by Marco's beer diversity.
Yeah, the diversity that I had there. Yep. And I was trying to pair it also to the time frame. You know, it's like, hey, what'd you have? And it's like, well, I'll tell you a little bit about what I had over the past few days. Gave them my my rundown. pared down a little bit. So, but yeah, so you can go listen to the episode, and then you can listen to my diverse list of beers. And I try to be efficient as well.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
It was very efficient.
I liked it. So the meat of the show, which it sounded like it was decided after you all were here
It was
and recording.
absolutely decided at
Just
the
spur
table
of the
as
moment?
we were recording.
That's awesome. You guys decided to do kind of a contest where everyone goes to the cooler here at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery
Yep.
and pick out what you think is going to be the best beer as voted on by everyone else in attendance.
Right.
And there was a lot. There was actually a really good variety of beers
Yeah.
and not beers
Yes,
even
true.
that was selected. There was an IPA. There was a Gose tea. There was a Gose, a double IPA. You picked probably the best one, not to us,
Right.
but the best one to everyone else. So did you want to talk about? I don't want to necessarily give away what everyone brought because I want people to listen to this episode. It was like a 37-minute episode or 40-minute episode. You have time to listen to shift beers.
Yeah, take the time.
But
And
the beer that you picked is one that we have had on the show twice.
twice.
Everyone else's thoughts on it were very different than yours and mine, which I found surprising.
I was surprised as well.
Yeah? Okay.
But that's fine because it played into exactly what we were doing.
Yeah, sure.
And as soon as Josh decided, ship beers, and everybody decided, all right, we're just gonna say go and run to the cooler. I'm
Did
like,
you go one
I
at
know.
a time, or did you all go over at the same time?
No, it was like
A
a
mad
breaking a
rush
huddle in football. It was like, all right, ready, break.
Gotcha. So you
So-
were pushing each other over, fighting over the cooler
Yeah, but as soon
doors
as he
and all
said,
that.
I was
Right,
like,
right.
nope. There's one in the cooler. I know what I'm getting.
Do they still have that here?
I don't know.
I can't
didn't
see
look.
from this angle. If they
I didn't
do,
look. Joe, have you
if-
had it before?
if they
I
do,
have
we
not.
should. If they
Oh,
do,
if
then
they
we
do
need
have
to.
it, then you
yeah.
should experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think about kind of the unintentional theme of the show? I liked it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I had in my notes that it was basically a gas station single episode.
True.
But on steroids.
Elevated,
Yeah,
yes,
elevated, yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Elevated gas station
Elevated
singles
gas
at
station,
PC's.
yeah.
for sure.
There wasn't any
elevated.
Four Loco.
No,
No,
no. And to Michael from Adina, who I know Adina supports or supplies a lot of the beers here to BC's. When we say it's a gas station single episode, we mean that in the best way possible because the beers
Yeah.
that you guys bring into this place are amazing.
I was looking. Yeah, I was very impressed.
And
Yeah.
they probably deliver to several gas stations that
Quite,
lean
yeah.
into craft
True,
beer.
very true.
I mean, you've got gas stations now with
With full
12
growler
taps
bars.
and growler,
Yeah.
the
growler
marathon,
bars.
White Oak Marathon.
White Oak Marathon,
Shout
yeah.
out.
The
A Ameristop on Fields Erdel.
yeah.
They have
I mean,
they have
it's
pint nights and shit.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Jeff's Marathon, which I haven't been to since new ownership took over on Bridgetown.
I
But
haven't-
my God, they always had absolutely amazing.
I've been once, and it was kind of sad.
So maybe it was after ownership
Uh-oh.
change.
Yeah,
All right.
it was.
Well,
It was definitely after the ownership.
Gotcha.
change.
Well, that's sad. That's sad. So gas station singles do not have to be bad beers because
no,
gas
definitely not.
stations
No, no.
are
That wasn't
they
my
are
point
part of
at
the
all.
craft
Yeah.
beer market. Right. I mean, it's something to where they're actually putting an effort to bring beer drinkers into their space. So you fill up your car, you go inside to pay, and you go, well, shit, I'm going to get, a 6-pack of this, Rheingeist release that is a week old at most. I only had 2 other notes about this episode of Shift Beers before we get into the most important part of the Shift Beers recap. So, Joe, what else did you have before we...
I have one thing.
Yes.
I said basically it seemed like that there was a dinosaur here at BC's Bottle Lodge, and was it something like was it a promotion or something for Jurassic Park or what?
Oh, in the background?
Yeah, in the
The whole episode, there was definitely a lot of noise in the background.
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Well, they were trying out new equipment, new stuff, which
Yeah.
picks up a lot more sound, but
Yeah.
it very well
That
was
is a-
It sounded like a dinosaur.
Yeah, there's a Vincentosaurus.
Vincent.
It lives off of sodas.
The soda crusher.
Yeah, it's a soda crusher.
Craft soda.
Craft sodas.
Craft soda crusher.
So yeah, that there was a source here.
Nice. Well, the last two notes that I had, apparently there was a blowtorch present here
There
at
was.
BC's. So if they don't start poking our beers with a hot poker, I'm going to be mad.
They need to get a poker.
Just saying that. They need to get a poker. Hire Gnome part-time to just show up during certain
Yeah.
hours to just poke people's beers. I
Yeah,
mean,
just set them up. You can set
just
them
have
up.
a little booth right over there, right,
Yeah,
right
he's
by the garage doors.
Yeah.
And just say, direct to him, like, hey, for an additional
Yeah,
$5,
Right.
I will poke whatever beer you bring to me.
yeah.
With whatever
and then the
implement
gnome's
you
over
want me to
there,
poke it with.
And he just, uses his blowtorch and gets his poker nice and hot, and
Yeah. And just dunks it.
yeah.
Just stands over it and just
Look, man.
dunks it right into the beer. Yeah.
You can summon him like
I'm in.
Beetlejuice. No.
Yes. Yes.
Hustlers
He,
gotta
so he
hustle.
so he has to kind of like hide under the table over there that they have, and someone says no
Actually,
3 times,
what
and
you
he
have
just
to do
pops
is you have
up.
to go into the restroom and look in the mirror and say it 3 times.
And then when you come back out, Gnome's like standing right there with like a red hot
Right,
poker
it's
in
like,
his hand, and it's like, oh yeah, it's either going to be a really good night or a really bad night.
That's right.
Last note that I had before the burp count, the outro music that Josh picked for this episode was phenomenal. Numa, if you don't know it, you know it. You just don't know you know it. It has been around since the beginning of internet time. It was a shorter episode, but it still had all of the normal shift beers energy to it. So I really, really, really enjoyed episode 85.
It was fun being part of it, and
Yeah.
that was not the original intention. Obviously, Vincent, my son, and I were just here having beers, and for those of you,
I did.
for those of you who are on the pod, all power just got
Just
lost to
went out
BC's
here.
Biological Montgomery, but we use battery
Batteries.
power,
So we are
up
good.
and good to continue recording.
And because the draft lines don't run off of electricity, we can still continue to drink and
That's
get
right.
shit-faced while we are
That's right.
recording.
Ben
this.
just
In
shouldn't
fact-
open the cooler door. but-
No.
In fact, it might be our duty because we don't know when the power's going to be back.
We need to drink all the beer.
We need to save all the beer.
Yes.
So, I guess from there we'll segue to the only podcast that we have a drinking game for so far. Not saying that we won't at some point for another one or even for an episode of another podcast, but from early on in our podcast life, we decided that shift beers, we were going to count all the audible burps, and then from there we get a total number off of a Google searched average sip of 2 ounces. We go ahead and let you know how many total ounces that is, and then we break that down into pints and let you know how many pints you would have to drink during that particular episode. And so at some point, someone's going to do the drinking game. And we hope that you do that responsibly and include us on a social media post or let us know that it's going to happen. And, we would like to in some way shout you out for that. So for this podcast of Ship Beers, I'm going to turn it over to
Our guest.
to
handle
This
letting
is-
everyone know
this
the
is
burp
a
count.
huge
Don't
responsibility.
Don't fuck this up.
That's
or
right.
we will never have you. No.
That's
I
right.
will not. I will not. I will not.
We will have Danny
This-
Trejo
this-
find you.
This is an honor to do the shift beer.
All right. As long as you can read my handwriting, please let everyone know the burp count for episode 85 of Shift
Well, it
Beers.
looks like they had 15 audible burps, which, according to Julia's calculations,
My mouth. Please don't correct me. Don't at me.
well, where can they send those complaints to, Julia?
Any complaints about the power of BC's Biological Montgomery or about our show can go to Raging Hop on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So as I
All right, back
said,
to the burp count.
15 audible burps, 30 ounces of liquid. I know, Marco, you love that. And 1.875 pints.
Which, I mean, the show was more about just hanging out and talking.
Yeah.
And with the new tech, there could have been more burps that just weren't audible, that we just could not hear
No,
because
they
of
were
the
in
Jurassic
public.
Park music going out, blaring
Right.
over the stuff.
They were in
But
public. They
still,
were trying to be a little bit,
discreet.
yeah.
When has that ever stopped them before?
I guess it did that day. I was
Yeah.
witnessing it, and
It's fine.
it's fine. It was fun. I
The
had a,
seltzer episode, they blew
Oh,
every
my
record, every
God.
number away, so it is perfectly acceptable
I
for
hope
them to
wherever
have.
they were at, they had not just HVAC, but a proper ventilation, and probably had to replace.
Well, I mean, they probably had
a
to rest
filter.
like their esophaguses. What is the plural for
I
esophagus?
don't know. I've never had to
Joe?
use it.
I mean,
Never either.
No?
Yeah. No idea.
No.
So they probably needed to ensure that reflux, that damage to their esophagus, to their vocal cords was healed. So they just took it easy this time. It was still an awesome episode.
Yep.
I loved listening to it. Marco, I'm so glad that you got to be part of another episode.
Yeah, it was cool.
Hell of a lot of fun. All right, well, we are going to take a quick break because Joe needs more beer. Marco, you're starting to get close to more beer. We're going to see what's going on with the power situation, and then we will come back and see what Joe picks for the next podcast that we talk about.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. We have power at BC's Bud Lodge Montgomery once again. So even though we were never, taken off the air, we were still good. We definitely took a break and got some beers and talked to people about their dogs and about. Apparently, you and Joe talked about Louisiana.
We did.
And
We did.
yeah, so we had a good time while the lights were out. Let me tell you. Going to the bathroom here at BC's when there's no power, they need emergency lights in the bathrooms.
It's really dark, isn't
It
it?
is
It's super
very,
dark.
very
It is
dark.
very
so
dark.
I did the pro tip. So pro tip, if you ever have to go to
Is
the
this a
bathroom in
Twisted
dark-
Tea tip?
This could very well be a TBP TTT, Twisted Tea tip. Only it's a good tip and not a bad tip. If you ever have to use the bathroom and there are no lights, just turn your phone's flashlight on and set your phone upside down so the flashlight is just shining up towards the ceiling. Either set it on the sink, or if there is, just like there is at BC's, like a little cabinet or something opposite the toilet, set it on that. And you can use the bathroom and not feel like you are being suffocated by terrifying darkness. The darkness.
That would have been a better idea than what Joe and I did, which is I had my phone held up with the light to let Joe use the restroom
With the door
and then
open.
we with the door open, and then we
Yeah.
switched off.
Yeah. So these are lessons learned from power outages at BC's. Now you know.
Yeah.
Good God. So
Well, I saw him
I-
shirtless earlier.
this
so,
is true. I mean, the shirtless lederhosen doing the push-ups. I'm telling you,
yeah.
Joe knows how to make an entrance.
I have. I did flex, didn't I? I flexed quite a bit.
All right, Hustle and Brews, episode 19 with Kamsu. But before we get into that, a couple of us have new beers
Yeah.
that we got. I'm still, because I'm a slow drinker, I'm still working on my pineapple # no filter, depending on how old or young you are, from Grainworks. Joe, what are you?
That's a good question.
What do you don't remember?
It's the menu is gone.
Oh,
It's-
that's right.
It's the California Common by.
Toppling Goliath.
Was it Toppling Goliath? I remember
Yep.
seeing it. I didn't remember.
I'm
the
pretty sure
brewery.
it's a California Common.
I remember seeing it.
It's
so I
a
believe
steam
you're
beer.
correct.
It is. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
it's a
steam
steam
beer
beer.
for sure. That's what he.
From Toppling Goliath.
That's what sold me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because, the only
'Cause the
steam beer
board-
that I've ever had was the one from Fibonacci for Missing Link. They made the one that was a steam
yes.
beer.
I didn't know that was steam.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
we
that was-
didn't get that one either.
They still have it at the tap room. So if you guys can make it up to Fibonacci, I mean, the kids can run around in the beer garden. It's the perfect space.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And play with the
It's
goats.
delicious.
Yeah.
It's delicious. So, Marco,
The-
what?
The tap boards are down because of the power. Like the TVs are on, but they haven't
I think the internet's
been
still...
able to switch the tap boards on. We
Okay.
could probably go on Untapped and see the list, But anyways, I grabbed
We'll just
something
make
out of
it
the
up.
cooler, which is Nines Are Wild from Rheingeist. This is their anniversary
Ninth
beer.
anniversary
It is a cold double IPA
So that means it's a cold double lager?
or an IPA,
IPL?
an IPA
know.
brewed with lager yeast or Kolsch yeast or
I like cold IPAs regardless of what they, and I'm using air quotes for those of you not on the live stream, whatever they actually are, right over there. Camera's right. I'm looking right at you guys. Whatever they are, I like them. I
Yeah.
really enjoy the
I'm here for it.
taste of the style, so I have no complaints whatsoever about them.
Yep.
I
Is it
don't
good?
think I've ever had one.
That's really good. I had it here. There's some in here. You can get
There you go.
a water cup or just drink it out of the thing.
Out of the can.
I'll get a water cup.
All
And then
right.
there we go.
It's a lot smoother than any IPA than I've had before.
Oh yeah, it's a
'Cause it's
smooth
a
IPA.
lager.
Pick a.
I like it.
Yeah,
good.
cold IPAs. Again, whatever.
So
You
when
can-
it's
you can
quote
argue
cold, it's brewed with a lager or Kolsch's.
It's-
Is that true?
Yeah, and then at that temperature.
At the lager temperature.
At the lager
around
So
temperature.
that they cold
Yeah.
crash it.
Yeah, it's the Billy D. Williams of IPAs.
There you go.
Cool. I'm learning stuff today.
There you go.
I love it.
And
All right.
speaking of Billy D. Williams, Hustle and Brews.
Hustle and Brews, episode 19. So, Kamsu has a whole bunch of businesses that he has built up in the past 10-ish years. It was a long episode. It was almost
was.
2 hours, but it was really, really cool to hear about the story of the man that founded Panda Trading Company, which does wholesale to Asian markets, drinks, distributors, that kind of stuff. Dope Asian Street Fair, which I have yet to visit a location, but I need to because I want some amazing ramen and just
Right.
Asian soup goodness.
Some dope.
Pelican's Reef, which I have not been to.
And I bet the Pelican's amazing.
I bet the Pelican is phenomenal.
State bird of Louisiana, by the way.
Medium rare, just some sea salt and cracked pepper on it.
Probably.
And I bet
That's the
it's
way to eat it.
wonderful. And what probably most people know him for, but that they don't know him for, Decibel Korean Fried Chicken, which is not only in Esoteric, but also has another location in Over the Rhine.
And they recorded the episode at Esoteric.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, Joe, you said you didn't get a chance to listen to this episode.
I didn't.
So you are going to be
Surprised.
by a lot of stuff. So even though you're surprised, if something strikes you to where you say, "Oh, I know what they said," please feel free to let us know your truths
Sure.
about this episode.
I found it very interesting that a person who sounded not only so knowledgeable and passionate, and clearly with this many locations, is a driven person. The passion, the drive, the way that he talks about his the people that work for him. I found it interesting that he chose to use the word empire over and over and over again about the way that he talked about how he's building his business footprint.
It's accurate though. It was
I
a
don't-
little surprising.
I don't
Right,
disagree, but the
No.
word empire a lot of times has, a connotation with it,
Mm-hmm.
where it's in some people's minds not a positive. And I listening to him, am trying to find a way to turn the word empire into a positive.
I feel like it very easily can be a positive, like the same for the word conglomeration. I mean, there have been like local breweries that
But I don't
have
mind that.
expanded. So to me, and this is just my personal opinion, conglomeration has, I don't even want to call it a negative connotation, but to me, conglomeration is like a less personal term than empire is.
So to me, and this is just me.
Sure.
To me, a conglomeration means a joining or a conforming of many different entities. To me, a empire is forming more by destroying others.
Gotcha. Okay, I can see.
So
I can see where.
and yet that's not what he's doing.
No, not at all.
What he's
Not at
doing
all.
is creating more under his umbrella through caring for his employees, through caring about the time that they have, the pay that they're paid, keeping the quality up, making sure that he, through one of his businesses, is providing quality products to other businesses through the market, where it's much the opposite of destroying and dominating.
Right.
It is very much building up and trying to build and expand through just positivity.
Well, and to even expand on that, he even said that his main goal, part of his why, one of the awesome things about Hustle and Brews, which we didn't even really mention what Hustle and Brews is about. It is it is Matt Damaris, who is a
hustler, baby.
talking to other local entrepreneurs in the Cincinnati area about their businesses, about being an entrepreneur, about the struggles that they've had, about the successes that they had. One of the things he likes to focus on is their why. Why are you an entrepreneur? Why did you want to build your own business, build your own? And I'll use the word empire in this specific example
his
because
word.
it
We
is
can use it.
exactly. To kind of detail why this is, and to me, empire is a positive connotation in this sense. To indicate how this is an empire, there are 3 dope Asian street fair locations. A 4th is potentially in the works.
Yes.
He wasn't able to really confirm. He kind of confirmed it, but
He
it's not set in
confirmed
stone.
without, making.
Right.
He didn't make an announcement.
Correct. But there are at least 3 dope locations currently. There are 2 Decibel Korean fried chicken locations. There is a Pelican's Reef in Anderson, and then Panda Trading, which is their Asian food and beverage wholesaler.
And that's where they trade the pandas.
Yes. I mean, I want a Panda. I don't know what they're trading them for. I don't know if me saying, hey, I have a 6-pack of Urban Artifacts Nitro Peach Fruit Miserable
Or
Spring Tart,
esoteric
will that work?
beer.
Ooh, yeah, I bet he would trade for some esoteric beer. Kalima, that was a big.
That was his big one.
That was a big
That was his big one.
So maybe if I give him like a case of Kalima, I can get a Panda.
I walked
should-
into Panda Express with Vincent, my son,
Yeah.
and I left because there was no Panda on the menu.
It is deceptive marketing.
I don't
Right there.
understand this.
No. But
Do
one
you
of the
go to
but to
Longhorn
kind of
Steakhouse and they don't have steak?
this is excellent. That's an excellent.
They don't
point.
have I mean, you can't pet the cows, though.
But you see, I don't want to. I don't want to see my food when it's still alive.
You know,
I
Caroline's...
understand where it comes from.
Caroline.
Woo! Yeah. Hell yeah.
She has a brilliant business plan. She wants to have a steakhouse where... I don't know if I'm allowed to share this.
Uh-oh.
But this is
Oh,
an
here we
exclusive.
go. Hold on. Hold on.
So the episode won't go till Friday. So if you need to cut this, let me know before Friday, and I can cut this.
All right, I'm gonna do an intro for.
Ooh, yes.
Hello. You are about to hear Joe's inside information. This was Morgan Freeman.
Oh, yes. All right. So let us know what's the dirt on Caroline's business plan. Caroline.
She has a business plan. She wants to open up a steakhouse where on the menu, all the cows are named.
No, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Keep going,
And
Joe. Keep going. Keep
today
going.
you are eating Bessie.
No.
I bet
I can't
somewhere.
do it.
I
I
bet
can't.
Texas would love that.
I bet they would. I can't do it. No offense to your wife, but I
Is there a
could not
backstory
eat
behind?
it.
Does the server give the backstory behind Bessie?
Oh my God, no.
Like they come up and like Bessie,
No.
Bessie came to the farm and
Oh my God.
this year
She
and
had
Bessie
brown
was
and white
You're just
spots.
adding to the business plan.
She was the sweetest calf, and then we just cut her down, and now she's on your plate. No, I can't. I can't.
and
I
somebody
can't.
in Texas with a French accent. Bessie was very good, so succulent and delicious, Bessie.
Oh my goodness. So to tie this back, okay, let's herd these cattle. Let's herd all the Bessie back into Hustle and Brews.
But, Joe, does Caroline make you say her name like that, like when you're in the car or
no.
anything like
she
that?
She actually hates that song.
Let's go back to Hustle and Brews
Oh, okay.
because I was trying to tie this into the why and how you were saying.
We'll just get there. Go ahead.
I'm trying. Community. He wants to be able to be successful enough to give back to the community that
Yes.
he is a part of, which
Correct.
is absolutely phenomenal.
Awesome.
So his why has actually changed a bit, and I don't want to give too much away, but more or less. And again, the whole story, the whole evolution of his why changing is phenomenal. So you definitely need to listen to this episode.
So, worth the listen. Really good. Matt does a great job
Oh,
at
God,
being
yeah.
able to get guests on and have them feel comfortable and be able to talk about their business prior to when they got to the place that they are, what they're thinking about at the place that they are currently. I'm really happy we got another episode of Hustle and Brews, and
Such a good one too.
yeah, such a good one. And yes, it is a long episode, but the whole thing just reinforces what you feel, I think, in the first 15, 20 minutes, which is that, hey, not only is this person driven and comes from a place that is true and genuine, but they're driven to continue. And this empire, as they say, this empire isn't shrinking. This is going to be a growing empire, and which is great because in the food service industry, a lot of times there's not so much care for the employees, and he truly does care about the employees, and he goes into talking about days and things, and
PTO and all-
PTO
right.
and calling off and things that you want to do, and recognizing that, hey, sometimes it's a day that that you're going to go enjoy yourself and have fun, and might
Not be 100% the next day.
100% the next day. And he's like, just let me know. That was pretty cool about how he's like, look, to his employees, associates, he's like, if you're going to have a day like that, give me a heads up. We'll schedule around you.
Sure.
Don't
wait until 7 o'clock the morning of when you're supposed to be there at 7:30.
Exactly.
And he understands situations happen to where you don't know until 7:30, until like shortly before your shift that you're not going to be able to be there. But basically, he said, drunk text me if you know you're not going to be able to be at your shift the next day.
For sure.
And they'll see what they can do. It was very
Absolutely.
cool. The focus on employees, on their employees, and on the people that work for him and for his company and his whole empire to
right,
continue
and
using that
the
term
care
is
for the other
amazing.
businesses
Absolutely.
that he helps through his market, and the care for the community. You get all of that, but you hear it from him in his words, with Matt giving him the platform to be able to talk about that.
Right. And they did also have, Juice, Esoteric's brand manager, also came onto the show for a brief moment, for a few minutes, talked about the Esoteric's beer. They talked about some of, this episode was recorded back in February, so some of the things they talked about, Kalima's almost always available. Very rarely will you go to Esoteric and not find Kalima on tap. But they also talked about Carnival, which is their Kolsch. They talked about how they didn't have an Oktoberfest this year, but possibly this coming Oktoberfest season, they're hoping to have a Märzen or something like that, which I wasn't really going to bring up anything about Matt's pronunciation of beer styles. Matt knew. He said that he wasn't certain about
He did
pronouncing
call
some of this, so we know.
He did
he knows.
give us, I don't want to say call us out, but
No,
he gave us a shout out on
Without
the
saying
pod.
it. We heard you, Matt.
We got
We
you.
heard you. We love you.
So to go rewind just a little bit. So Esoteric is a brewery in Cincinnati that
Walnut Hills.
is
East Walnut Hills.
East Walnut Hills, and it is a minority owned. So when you think of a typical tap room, whatever the typical tap room is that you think about, when you walk into Esoteric, it's almost like you're walking into a lounge.
Yes,
like a
nightclub
a
or-
nightclub lounge scene.
It's not your typical metal bar stools that you see at every other brewery.
Right.
It's not. I mean, if you look at BC's, the wooden tables, the chairs, the stools, high tops. That's not Esoteric at all. You
No.
walk in and you feel like I should have almost dressed up for this, which is not required. You know
Not
what I mean?
required.
It's not.
But-
no,
but-
no, no.
but you
walk
feel
in
like,
as you are, but it's
okay.
nice. And my God, the beers are ridiculous.
Really good. Really good. And the owner spent a lot of time honing in his craft at Madry.
And you can tell.
Yeah,
You can tell.
he really.
I didn't know that. He used to brew at Bantry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's an amazing space. The beers are amazing. The food that Kamsu has brought into Esoteric with Decibel it's great. It's absolutely
And Beth
phenomenal.
from Ship Beer's wife is Anik.
Anik, yeah.
She's
Who is a brewer.
brewer there.
Full-time
I say
brewer,
that in
brewer
jest.
training.
It's her best friend.
Yeah, but she is definitely a huge part of the esoteric brewing family.
And I'm a huge
Yes.
advocate for all these wonderful people. I mean, especially females getting into the brewing industry. We need so much more of them because they are smarter than men, and we need that, have that openness,
Right,
to
right.
be able to say it's not just the work, but it's also the thought process behind the work.
It's the environment and the culture surrounding it.
I love it. I
100%.
love
We
it.
need
love it.
balance.
Absolutely.
yeah.
We need balance in the force.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. That is an
Absolutely.
excellent way to put it. Yeah, yeah.
And her lightsaber is powerful.
So I had a couple other notes that weren't necessarily about Kamsu and all the amazing places that he runs, but just kind of like fun little touch
Sure.
points. Did you have anything else before we kind of wrap up the Hustle and Brew segment with those?
No, hit it.
All right. Observing is free education is something that the Kamsu mentioned, which I agree with wholeheartedly. If you can observe someone, if you can watch someone, you don't need to go to a class. You don't need. Yes, a lot of people like
Yeah.
seeing you have this degree, that degree, whatever on paper. But if you get a chance to observe someone doing things,
Yeah.
you're learning as long as your mind is open to try to absorb what they're doing.
And the
it is
context-
free education.
Sure it is. And the context was he was working a job and being able to observe
A chef. Yeah.
a chef.
Yes,
And so that
yes.
that was the context of that, and that's absolutely
Right.
education.
Because
without
Matt's
a
like,
doubt.
well, were you trained to be a chef? No, I just watched these very good chefs that I work with. And the only other thing that I really wanted to touch on, because I already kind of did the gentle fun poking at Matt for his pronunciation, because very important here, very important on Truth Beer Pod.
Yeah.
They predicted again, this was recorded in February. They predicted a beefed up Bengals offensive line, and look what we got.
Oh yeah.
It's Truth Beer Pod, the sports podcast. I am so looking forward.
I mean, if they
This
didn't do
season.
that, it would have been a lost opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right, let's,
Absolutely would.
Yeah, we would
Joe
have
Burrow
been,
got hit a lot.
we would have been perturbed.
47 times.
Yeah, ridiculous
Yeah.
for a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, and the coach was like, after the Super Bowl, I was like, you gonna upgrade your line? I don't know. It was good enough to get to the Super Bowl. It's like, okay, that's funny, but your quarterback was demolished all year.
Yeah.
He's a young guy, and you're going to end his
Yes.
career.
Right.
Like,
That was an absolutely amazing episode of Hustle and Brews. Matt does such a great job with picking the people that he interviews, asking the questions that drive amazing conversations, but letting the entrepreneurs that he talks to own the floor and tell their story.
Yeah, I
And
think
they're drinking great beer while they do it.
sure, and that's absolutely the case. Welcome back, Hustle and Brews.
We missed you.
We missed you.
All right, let's take a super fast break, and we will get on to let's do Craft Parenting Podcast next, Joe. Let's talk about
Never
what
heard of
you
them.
and your wife had to say about Goses,
Yeah,
more
let's-
specifically West Side Brewing Goses.
yeah, let's do it.
All right,
of
we'll
them,
be
all
right
the
back, guys.
Goses.
All right, we have made it back once again. We didn't refill our glasses because we're all still doing pretty well on our beers, but after this one, we're definitely going to need to refill our cups. Joe, I believe, said that he had another dad joke before we get into Craft Parenting Podcast.
Well, Marco, I've been listening to the show almost since the beginning, and we've hung out here and there.
It's true.
We have.
I feel like I know you decently well, like pretty well. You seem like someone who might sing in the shower. Is this accurate?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Are we getting that
absolutely.
insight? Nice.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Does the shower floor rotate
It
while
does
you're
not.
singing?
It
okay.
does not.
All
Okay.
right. All right.
It's something to look forward to as you retire. Well, singing in the shower is all fun and games until you get shampoo in your mouth.
Oh.
And then it's a soap opera.
Oh, Marco. The dad in him is trying so hard to not respond, but those of you on the Patreon live stream watching this, Marco's face is just... Care to comment on that one, Marco?
No.
Oh, got some Liam Neeson going on there. That was an amazing Liam Neeson.
Thank
That
you.
was so good. So good.
Thank you.
All right. Episode 63.5 of the Craft Parenting Podcast. You guys
How about
did
that?
a bonus episode.
Where'd you get that idea from?
I don't know. I don't know where we got that from.
This is the one with the Gose beers. So you guys drank 3 out of the, I believe, 4 Goses that Westside Brewing
I was going to say,
has
you had
available.
a true variety of Goses
Yeah.
from one brewery. I mean, that's
It's amazing the variety that they had.
yeah.
they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all so
they're a
good.
Gose brewery, I guess.
yeah, Gose specific. So you have Urban that does Midwest fruit tarts.
Yeah.
But then if you want to add some coriander to the mix, you go to Westside for all of their Goses.
All the Goses.
So now, did you guys buy multiple Goses, like kind of for the intent to have the variety, or was it just kind of pure circumstance that you're like, you know what, we happen to have one of almost every Gose that they currently have available right now?
That situation we did for the previous one with coffee beers.
Oh yeah.
We just
okay.
looked in the beer fridge and we're like, we have a lot of coffee beers.
Yeah.
Let's just drink them and do a 0.5. The Gose was kind of in that same vein, but I intended to buy. I didn't search for them. I happened to be at Hadding's, and I was like, oh, they have the pineapple Gose and they have the regular Gose, and we already had the cucumber one in the beer fridge.
Nice, cool.
So I'm like, well, that's a bonus episode.
So definitely one of the coolest parts about your podcast is if you're going to go into a theme, and let's say it's a beer styles, or if it's you even did a whole recap of Michael D. Morgan's what was the book called?
The one with 37 names in the title.
Right.
It was a very, very long name. I didn't write it down.
And Michael D. Morgan's going to come up later in the podcast.
Yes.
Because he's a great beer writer here locally.
Yep.
And you did a page-by-page recap of one of his books.
Not quite page
was-
by page.
No, it was page by page.
It was a
That's our
15-part
truth.
trilogy.
Yeah,
15
it's
part,
Of,
yeah.
of
a
one of his
15-part
books.
trilogy of Michael D. Morgan's book.
I loved it. I loved the recap that you guys did on the book.
Michael told Julia when Michael saw Julia,
I'm missing Link
said
Fest.
it
He
was
was
like
my God.
chef's kiss.
Yeah, he was like,
He's
you
like-
guys have hung out with Joe and Caroline. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, they did the recap of my book. And I'm like, they absolutely did.
They sure-
well, and
they
you
sure the
guys
fuck
talked
did.
about their recap of my book. And I'm like, we absolutely did. And he was like,
Yeah.
that was,
And he was like,
it
so
was
they're the
brilliant."
people that bought it.
Yeah.
No, we did not buy it. We
Oh,
rented it from the library.
That's
You
rented
mean
it from the library.
You mean so those on the page?
Joe,
I can
show
see
your
my
library
link.
card
yeah,
right now.
yeah,
Show your
that's,
library card. Do you have a library card?
that's a legit
Do
library card.
I have a library card?
Do I have mine on me? I know it might be on my
Stop
dining room
it.
table.
Two of you
I know, I'm
reaching
trying
for a
to-
library card?
I'm looking. Oh no, it's on my dining room
It's
table.
2022.
I cleared out. Yeah, I know.
What the F?
It wasn't a book, but Caroline dug into this Wikipedia.
I think it was Wikipedia.
Oh, is that Julian Assange? Is he a part of that?
Yes.
Maybe.
About and dug into the history of the Gose style of beer, how it's
Yes.
made, and it turns out that there was a lot that confused Caroline because it was all about bung holes and sheave holes. So
That's right.
it was really all about holes being open and closed.
That's right.
So Marco, I'm asking you as a brewer, what is a sheave hole? I'm relying on you, which is a bad idea in any circumstance.
I have no idea what these are.
Oh, okay.
I know what a bunghole is. I don't know
Don't
what a
we all?
sheave hole is. I have no idea what this is.
Okay. This is We've Had Beers, and it's a legit term. Like I actually looked up the Wikipedia entry as well, and I'm like, sheave hole. All right, it's there.
Hell yeah.
It's a thing.
Hey now.
I was
Well, if it's a
relying
hole,
on
you got to stick
It's-
something in it, right?
Do you? Because in the case of Goses, you let the foam just pop out of the hole rather than
now.
sticking stuff into the hole.
Oh.
So I don't know. I was hoping you could answer these questions for us, but you're not making the situation any better.
No, I don't know what that is.
No. Okay.
No, I
That's
have
fair.
no idea.
I actually kind of do. It's the hole in a barrel that's used to clean and like sanitize it if it's being reused, but we'll just pretend that that I didn't know that.
It's like a bidet for a
It's a
barrel.
very
Okay.
it's
Yeah, that's a good
very-
way to put it.
Let's just say it's very risky to Google sheave hole while you're at work because you
I wouldn't
don't
have done
know
it.
what's gonna happen.
I wouldn't have done it. But thank
I
you,
took a
Julia, for
risk.
taking one for the team.
Just like I did with the whole like
The what is it?
The Mormon-
Oh, God.
blanketing. or-
blankets
I don't know.
drenching.
drench-
Was it drenching?
I don't remember
So
the
terrible.
Mormon thing. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
I
Shouldn't have Googled that
Hey.
at work.
Moving back onto Craft Parenting Podcast, words that stopped having meaning for Caroline. Like there are certain words that once you say them too many times or you see them written down too many times, you're like, wait a minute, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right.
Yeah.
And there's a term for that word.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I did not know this.
Yeah. The term for that is called semantic oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
it
word
is,
I
Julia.
cannot say. Well, there are two kind of terms. There's a long word and a short word for it.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
going to do the short word because I've
Well,
had
but the
beers
short
and it's
word
long.
works just as well as the
It
long.
does.
I don't.
When it's
I don't
short,
want anybody.
it's-
I don't want to besmirch the short one versus the long one. The short one works just fine.
Semantic drift is one of the terms. Semantic satiation is the longer word for it, but semantic drift is when you either look at a word or say a word so much that you're like this. It doesn't look right anymore. It doesn't sound right anymore. The word loses all meaning.
Right.
So I thought that was. I don't want to say it was fun that Caroline ran into that, but I knew exactly what you guys were talking about.
Interesting.
But to dig back down into Gose's, they're gateway sours, which is something you guys said. Gose's tend to be or can be
Yeah.
a really good gateway sour
Sure.
beer. If you're not a fan of Urban Artifact does amazing things, but they are tart. There is a
They
certain
are in your
palate that you
face.
have to correct. And if you're not sure that you like those yet, a Gose might be that great
I'm sure they
introduction
do a
to
Gose
them.
here and there, but
Oh, I'm
most
sure they
most
can.
of their beers, most of their famous beers are like in your face.
Yes,
sour.
absolutely,
or tart.
absolutely. So out of the base Gose, the pineapple Gose, and the cucumber serrano Gose that you guys had, did you have a favorite? Because you really didn't dig into
Yeah.
if you liked
Favorite.
one
You guys
more
really
than
goes
another.
around town.
How did you say that with a straight face?
Are you
I
still
just
salty,
remembered. I just remembered his dad joke. And it was-
Marco?
Just still
Marco, are you
straight
still
face.
salty for my dad joke?
Did you say salty because you were talking about Goses?
Yes. I like the cucumber just because it was different, right?
Yeah.
It was very cucumbery, and then salty on a little bit, and then it went heat.
Heat, yeah. So
Which
I know
was
that they
different.
also have a key lime currently. Did you guys? I know that you didn't have that on the show. I didn't know if you'd had
I
a chance
haven't
to
had
try
that one,
Okay.
no.
So for you, the cucumber serrano was top pick. Did Caroline feel the same way? Did she like?
She really liked that. She bought that when we went a few weeks ago
Nice.
because she had it on draft, and she's like, I have to have this in the beer fridge.
It's absolutely delicious. I love the heat level of it. I love the cucumber isn't. I feel like some cucumber beers, which are typically ales, gozes, really light beers, the cucumber can taste, I don't want to say vegetal, that's more of like that green peppery, but it's too green of a taste. I don't know how to explain.
What's weird is sometimes that cucumber can give off strawberry flavors.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
I don't
very
think I've run into
interesting.
that yet.
Yeah, I
Very
have.
cool. Very cool.
Or I just made it up. Either way.
Hey, you know it's our truth, so we're gonna say sometimes it gives off
also,
a strawberry.
As you listen to this this 0.5 episode, Caroline's doing a trip.
An all-girls-
Caroline
yeah,
is
girls
taking
trip.
her pregnant friend to go brewery hopping.
It's true.
And what they do along with brewery hopping, because that's what you do. I mean, when you're on the west side, there's some cider and stuff. So, all right. So, 2 truths and a lie. Here we go.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes. We have not had this in so long.
2
All
truths
right.
and a lie.
Let's
so,
do it.
Caroline and her pregnant friend are going off to Indianapolis to have some fun. They go to a place and they make something.
Mm-hmm.
They make what? Number 1, ice cream. They make what? Number 2, candles. They make number 3 infused oils. They actually put together their own infused oils.
Like a perfume kind of
Like
thing.
a perfume kind of thing.
That is something that they talked about on Craft Parenting Podcast, episode 63.5. So if you want to know what Caroline and her friends made on their girls' trip, Caroline, and what it smelled like, you need to listen to this episode. They talked a lot about Goses, and it was really good. I love what you guys do, how almost every single episode that focuses on beer has an educational aspect. You dig into what the style is, how it's typically made, some of the variants of how it's made depending on what it is, and it's always a lot of fun. It is always an absolute ton of fun to listen to.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have some notes too.
Yes.
We have a very special celebrity on to explain the ingredients.
That's true. We did not
And it
mention
goes a beer.
celebrity.
Do you know who this celebrity is?
Marco.
Was it?
It's Marco. That was my
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
I wasn't throwing it over to you,
No,
but
that's
yeah.
false. It's Chris. It's Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. Chris Hemsworth.
You should have had Marco do it.
I should have. He was
He
busy
would have
doing.
done. He was busy doing shift beers. This
Yeah.
is true. I mean, I was free. I didn't get a phone call.
Oh.
Just
I mean, you're down the
mean-
street. Yeah, it could have worked.
I know. I was right there.
So we are considering changing the name of the podcast to the Craft East Side Parenting
Oh.
Podcast.
I couldn't have listened if you were East Side.
I know. All
What
right.
other notes on your own show do we?
Few more notes.
I love it. Yes.
Cincinnati's bottling plants are cooler than Indianapolis's.
Oh, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The
Agreed.
Gose beer style is older than me.
Is it older than us though? Is it older than Marco and I?
Joe's a pretty old guy.
He is a pretty old guy. He's ancient according to one of
According
their
to our own
episodes.
podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
Westside Brewing's Brett Farmhouse is named after Caroline's friend's husband.
I'm sorry, whose friend's husband?
Caroline!
Woo! Hell yeah.
Brett.
There are a lot of
Tzatziki.
Bretts in brewing as well.
DF.
As well as what Josh's and Andrews and
Josh's and
Andy.
Andrews.
Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jesus's on
And
the
Jesus is on
on
the
the
south side,
West Coast.
west coast.
Yeah.
Okay. Tzatziki sauce is pronounced tzatziki. You have to really exaggerate that T sound.
Okay.
2 more things.
I was going to say
All
my
right.
glass
Yeah,
is about empty,
all
so
your-
we
all
need
your
to...
notes on your
my
show.
kids are more cultured than me because they eat charcuterie boards.
Charcuterie.
So whose
Shark.
kids are more
Pronouns-
cultured
Yeah.
in the beer culture? Your
Ooh.
kids or the gnomes' kids?
I don't know.
Ooh,
They're
that's a
older, right?
good-
So
I don't.
I don't know.
Slightly.
How old
I mean,
are your kids?
2 and 16 months. And
So yeah, so gnomes,
so gnomes
have
got
a little bit.
a little bit of an edge.
A little bit of
li-
an
Oh, she's
on
almost
age.
3.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you know what? Give them time. Give gnomes kids time to be sick of the beer talk, and your kids can run with it because it's not what they're hearing day in and day out.
Caroline is going to open up a bar called Puzzles. And why do you think it's called Puzzles, Julia?
Because it's gonna be a round structure, and there's no edges to actually find
Oh my God!
how to put the puzzle together.
Yes.
I was going to say that's the puzzle.
That's,
It's
that's
called
what I was going to. I'm like, I don't know. It's a puzzle on why she would do that, but I felt like that was a cop-out answer. But I like
Yeah.
Marco's. You can't find the edges or the end pieces.
And then I fired my editor after this. after this
All right.
this podcast dropped.
Hell yeah. All right.
I need a beer,
I need a break.
and yes, let's take a break.
I
We
need to
have-
collect myself.
All
I
right.
need to figure out my life here for the moment.
All right. Well, we will take a real quick break, and then we have Cincy Brewcast and Brewcast Happy Hour to wrap up tonight's episode with.
Woo!
We'll be right back, guys. We all have fresh beers in our glasses. Marco, what are you drinking? What you drinking?
I got zombie dust.
Hell yeah.
Big stovepipe out of the cooler.
Excellent.
That's a good
excellent.
one.
And you got to try it for the first time as well, Joe. What did you think?
It was good.
Nice.
I liked it.
And then Joe and I both have the, I'm going to mess this up because their boards are down, but it is the Pipeworks. It's a Pilsner on the slow pour tap, not perfect.
Premium.
Premium.
Premium pills.
I want to say perfect pills, which it is. So it is a very, very delicious beer. Anything out of that slow pour tap is.
I haven't had any yet, but it looks good. While we were on break, though, I was just on Twitter.
Yes.
It looks like the police just arrested the world's tongue twister champion.
Why is that?
They say he'll be given a tough sentence.
Oh. Hey, we asked Joe to bring the dad jokes, and my God, he is killing it.
Why do we not? Why do we not hook up to the speaker here at BC's Biological?
I don't know.
And let
Hey.
everyone hear that.
We will.
Jesus.
We will. A live show will happen again. Yeah, we have limited time, so let's go ahead
Gotta roll.
and get through. Okay, we're gonna drink the Cincinnati Brewcast because
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And cheers.
Cheers. Drink. All right, let's see. The Gnome talked to Chef Tony from the Queen City Mobile Food Truck Association.
Yeah.
A lot of the episode, it was not necessarily about beer, but about the upcoming Street Food Expo
Yep.
happening at Bechtold Park in, is
Right.
that Sycamore Township, I believe?
I
Technically,
don't know.
it's kind of it's not the necessarily Blue Ash area, but it's,
It's out there in Deer Park, isn't it?
yeah, I think that's correct.
For anybody who's listened to Cincy Brewcast for a long time, Tony is what Gnome would call Chef Tony,
Yeah.
who used to be of Brew City Brats.
Mm-hmm, correct.
And
Does he
then-
still do that?
I don't know.
know.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
I think he's more into the food truck business. So, Chef Tony has a shop, or Tony, just Tony.
Mm-hmm. Just Tony Lang, yeah.
Tony has a shop where he can fix, create, or renovate food trucks.
Mm-hmm.
He's also, I guess, one of the heads of the food truck, one of the food truck associations.
The Queen City
in-
Queen City Mobile Food Truck Association. A lot
Right.
of words there.
Right, and certainly friend of mine, friend of the Gnomes. I saw him at Valley Vineyards Beer Wine Festival. We hung out
Nice.
for quite a while. He and his wife. Actually, the day he showed up, it was his wife's birthday. So that was
Nice.
pretty fun.
It's always fun having him on Cincy Brewcast. He is a great speaker. He is someone that's always a lot of fun to listen to. So this was definitely a show of the Gnomes that, even though it was not beer centric, was absolutely phenomenal to listen to.
Yeah,
it
and-
covered more than just food trucks. Are a huge part of kind of the brewery and craft beer scene in Cincinnati.
And he's been on since way back in the beginning.
Yes.
Like I
yes.
remember him and Mike and Gnome and like way back in like 2014.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, exactly. I was going to say that, and thank you for chiming in about that.
Yeah.
He was on back when Mike Cisneros and the Gnome, and at that time, Mike Cisneros' daughter, who was bartending, was on the show, Cincy Brewcast, and it's evolved to what it is now. But they talk about that.
They do.
They
They
talk
do.
about those early days.
Yeah, so we might jump around a little bit in this recap because, just like you said, one of the later notes that I have about the show was they talked a lot of. I don't want to say a lot. They touched on some of the first times that Tony was on the show, like you mentioned, Joe. The way that the technology for podcasting has evolved. Gnome would show up somewhere, Gnome and Mike, or Tony would show up somewhere to where Mike and Gnome and whoever else might have been on the Cincy Brewcast, and it would just be cables everywhere, and I mean fairly big equipment,
that's-
a lot of things to plug into, like they needed power, they needed this, and now
Yeah.
Gnome can show up anywhere to record with Tony, with anyone from any brewery, and it's just like this tiny little
Yeah.
package.
A li- a
Everything
little-
fits
little
into a
bag.
backpack.
I mean, originally, they were recording at Mike's house.
Correct. Yes.
So
yes.
they take you back to there, which is really cool for anybody who hasn't been with Cincy Brewcast for that long, and I have almost from the beginning. I think probably I've listened to every episode, but and don't challenge me on that, but I'm pretty sure I have. But the harken back was really cool, and then to see that, I mean, Tony for a long time was really hustling and running and trying to build his business as a chef who curated specialty sausages from this city. I mean, because this is Porkopolis, they used to call it. And what he would do is he would make, with Brew City Sausage, he would make sausages infused with beer. And so he would make sausages infused with perfect segue. He would make a zombie dust sausage.
That's awesome.
He would make a sausage with the Kentucky Bourbon Barrel. He would make an Oktoberfest with Braxton's October Fuel. And he'd make sausages, with infused with beers from all of the craft breweries around the place. He would come, and his food truck would come to Valley Vineyard's beer wine festival and infuse sausages with our eye opener stout.
Nice.
So he spent so much time doing this, and he got into grocery stores, and he got into grocery stores, and it was a thing, and then it wasn't. And being in the food truck game, he gained a lot of knowledge. I guess has pivoted to being a guy who has a shop and being able to help food trucks and
Kind of a food truck advocate.
Food truck
It's
advocate.
definitely way more than just that.
And he makes food trucks.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's, and like you said, it all ties into the brewing industry because so many breweries and so many brewery events, whether they're at your brewery or whether your brewery is going to be at an event, have food trucks.
I mean, I know that there have been plenty of times where Josh and I will be thinking, oh, what do we want to do for food? And it's, well, what food trucks are out? What food trucks are at, West Side Brewing or, Humble Monk or a lot of the local breweries that don't have in-house food, but they have food trucks on a fairly regular basis. And a lot of times that is the drive for where we go and where we spend our money. And I know that Tony is probably behind the scenes of a lot of that. To kind of touch on something that you, I guess, loosely touch on something that you had mentioned about the sausages that he would infuse with all the beers, that reminded me of one of the things I had written down that was part of the conversation in this episode. Labels and what can go on a label when it comes to beer.
Yeah.
Like you can't have a label with a picture of a s'more, and this is the exact example that they use, that has the graham cracker and the marshmallow and the chocolate. If there's no actual marshmallow in that beer, like the TTB, am I getting that right this
TTB.
time? Excellent. Will say you can't even have a picture on the label of a food or of an ingredient that's not part of the beer, to which Gnome countered, well, but 50 West has a VW bus on every single one of their labels. There's not a VW bus in any of these beers, which tongue in cheek, but it's accurate. So it's kind of a.
I mean, look
on
at
the
your
sausages, do
look
they
at
need
your
to say
look
what
at your
they say?
90-minute IPA.
Yeah.
It has a picture of a shark on it.
Is there a shark in this IPA?
I don't know.
It's
There's
very
a
weird.
bite, but yeah.
It's very weird because I remember maybe 5 years ago we wanted to call our holiday ale something at the place I brew at, and we were told that we couldn't because it catered too much to kids. And I was like, how can our beer with that name, and I don't remember the name, it doesn't matter, we didn't name it that, not be called that, and yet Taft's can have a beer called Santa's Bribe.
Right. Well, I mean, Tony had an
don't even-
excellent
I don't
comment
even
on
understand.
that. A quote that Tony actually said was, as far as the laws go, your label has to be, like, it has to be a, and I'm not going to get this exact, it has to be a G-rated label for a 21 and up product. You can't buy it if you're a kid, so why does it matter?
Right.
I understand, but I don't agree with what they're doing. Kind of like Joe Camel. You used to have for Camel cigarettes. They had a cartoon camel as their mascot, and then they went
penis and balls.
right, and then yeah, and then they went, well, this, I'm using air quotes, caters to kids because it's a cartoon camel, so kids are going to think this is cool, so they're going to want to
No, but
buy
it
this.
looked like a penis and balls.
It did. You're not wrong, but you can't. Kids couldn't buy it, so I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. And I feel that beer labels are a little bit in that same vein to try to come full circle with all of this.
Try to what?
They come full circle. Oh,
You did it, Julia.
I did it. A lot of the
So
conversation.
if I'm going to mansplain what just happened. So I said peanuts and balls twice, and then Julia said come.
Thank you for being a man who is explaining what just happened. On
Julia,
this. Yes.
you're welcome.
I don't know what I would do without you, Marco. Swear to
We
God.
wouldn't have a podcast if I didn't have you. If I didn't have
Hey.
you, we wouldn't have a podcast.
I don't know. Street goes both ways, sir. A decent portion of the conversation, something that I want to focus on, is about the upcoming Street Food Expo, which is happening the day after this podcast release. But Chef Tony has been working with a huge number, 40 plus food trucks.
It's amazing number of food trucks.
I don't know if they're all part of I guess they're not all part of the Queen City Food Truck Association beers, because there are food trucks coming from Dayton and Southern Kentucky and all different parts of the Midwestern area. So this Saturday, June 25th, from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. at Bechtold Park, the Street Food Expo. They have live music, including the closing act of the Naked Karate Girls, which
Hell
is
yeah.
Cincinnati's favorite party band.
They are.
They have like a kid zone.
They fucking
have
bring
all
it.
Are they more naked than the bare naked ladies?
Yes, in the best way possible.
Okay.
Joe, can you sing 1 week for us?
Ooh,
No.
1 week.
since you looked at me,
Right.
Drop your
Chicken
head
to
to the side
China to
instead of
Chinese
sorry.
chicken.
do you have a drumstick and your brain stops
That's
ticking?
chicken.
They still need volunteers for the Street Food Expo. So if I can get this edited and published before Friday, they're only looking for 4-hour shifts, so not huge, terrible amounts of time. You get a free T-shirt. You get to park on site, so you don't have. They have a shuttle that's going to be running, which I'll talk about here in a second. You can park on site. You get, I believe, it's $50 in street food bucks. So you basically get to eat for free, and you get to have a hell of a good time. If you are attending the Street Food Expo on Saturday, they have a free shuttle that's running from Deerfield High School's parking lot from 1 p.m. all the way up through close. The last shuttle is supposed to leave the Food Truck Expo at 10:45 p.m. Queen City Food Truck Association, Chef Tony helps with so many different aspects of the food truck ownership experience. I don't even know what the right
Yeah, I
word
mean,
is.
everything. I mean, food truck owners who have problems with their food trucks go to his shop and they get, repairs and that sort of thing. But they also go to him and resources to be able to help them with understanding social media.
That was one of the big things I was going to say. He'll help, I don't want to say train them, but help talk to them about social media and how to really promote their food truck.
It is really cool to get into talking about somebody who wants to be in a brick and mortar and what that investment is and what you need to have, not just with equipment and but also labor in this day and age. Currently, with the labor structure we have, which is very tough to find people, and then tough to find people. It's always tough to find good people, but it's tough to find just anybody right now. Versus a food truck,
Right,
you could go into a brick and mortar and make $2.5 million in a year, but the food truck that makes $250,000 may actually gross. Or net, not gross, may actually net more profit than the brick and mortar.
And that's one of the things that they talked about on this episode. They definitely talked about the
Kinda
differences
crazy.
with food trucks and brick and mortar shops, and how a lot of entrepreneurs that want to do something in the restaurant industry are leaning towards food trucks as opposed to a brick and mortar location.
And I just want to say, because it's brewery related, Catch a Fire food truck started as a food truck that was parked right outside Mattree 1.0.
Yep.
Now they have
2 to
2
3.
locations
Yeah.
with a third to open.
Yes.
So, and they were featured in a magazine for how much they grossed. Yeah, I think it was probably 2019. But they did over $1 million in sales
That's
out
crazy.
of Mattree 2.0. It's all, we need to support local. We need to support these businesses that show up and are at our festivals, and get out there and get the food, man. And when you're at a festival, don't say, I'm going to leave so that we can go eat. Eat at the businesses that are there.
There have been times when there'll be food trucks at a brewery. Like, I'll use Westside because that's typically what this happens at. Like, maybe Josh and I we have enough beer at home. We don't want to spend the extra money to drink there, but we'll go out, pick up food to go from the food truck, and then just go home. More often than not, we get a pint or two at the brewery as well.
Sure.
But there have been times where, I don't say plenty of times, but there have been times to where the actual food truck and what they're offering is the bigger draw than the brewery that we know we're going to be to multiple times. We don't know when we're going to see that food truck again. And I just want to say, because I only have a couple other notes on this episode, I could listen to Tony read the phone book. Gnome had him read off of a beer can.
I have notes on this.
Yes, Joe.
I think Chef Tony should do voiceovers for reading labels.
Yes. In a world
but how would that?
filled with food trucks.
What should?
In a world where food trucks dominate the landscape.
That was good.
Is it?
And I am for hire, by the way.
There we go.
I am totally a money slut. I am
10% of all voiceover fees come to Truth Beer Pod for us to do more fun stuff.
Absolutely.
Joe, I am sorry. Please
No.
continue.
So what
we
would
need
we
to wrap
what
this
would
up.
what would we call Chef Tony? Would we call him voiceover Tony? I guess
Oh.
he would need a name change.
He would, yeah. I mean, although Chef Tony, the voiceover king, does have a certain ring to it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
We've got
we'd
like
have to work on that.
16 minutes
I know,
before this place closes.
and we still have
we
to
need
talk
to do
about,
Brews, guys.
Yes.
I have two more notes.
Yes, sir.
The gnome says he doesn't feel like he is aging, but half the episode was the gnome saying, "Back in my day."
Aging
Back
is a
in my
bitch.
day.
Yes. Says the
You
guy
never
who's
know.
younger than at least the two of us.
And the gnome's dad has the best white elephant gifts.
This,
for sure.
Yes.
This is
Yes,
true.
Absolutely.
This is true.
Absolutely.
Go listen to the episode. You'll figure
It
that
was
shit
great.
out.
Even though it wasn't beer specific, everyone has been to a brewery that's had a food truck. And so therefore you have had a connection to Chef Tony, even if you didn't realize it. Listen to the episode, support the gnome. Sign up for his Patreon. He doesn't do a whole lot of Patreon specific content. He's working on it, but he does amazing things for Cincinnati Craft Brewery. So give him your money if you're able to.
All right, Twitter poll. Here we go. So the gnomes, what is it? Father-in-law, right?
Mm-hmm.
Father-in-law gifted the gnome and his wife. Number one, foldable coasters.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, silicone pints, silicone pint glasses.
Like the unbreakable pint glasses, right?
Or number three, edible underwear. What do you think?
I'm going for edible underwear.
Hit us up on Truth Beer Pod. Let us know.
All right, So we've been here for way too long, as always.
4 hours.
This
I know.
place is going to be shutting down soon, and we are not going to give Brews Guys Happy Hour the amount of time that it really deserves for this recap. You have another dad joke before we get into Brews Guys?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Well,
I love these.
the gnome is working full time now at home.
Full-time
Well, no, I'm
gnome.
very excited for him. Right?
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah. I'm really happy to hear it. But did you hear about the yacht builder that had to work from home?
I did not. I did yacht.
No, I didn't. I did not.
His sales went through the roof.
Oh.
You really brought it today.
He did.
You really brought it today.
We didn't even directly say, "Hey, Joe, we
No,
want you."
I told you. I
No,
told,
no, no.
I told
Yes,
you.
you-
But I don't know if you told him. I was like,
No.
you better bring the fucking dad
No,
jokes.
and that's what I was gonna say. We talked about this like a couple days ago. When it's like, yeah, Joe should be on the show. Like so far, he's still coming. But we had said, man, we hope that he has dad jokes. And my God, okay, Brews Guys Happy Hour. I am so sorry to Brett and Mike because we do not have the time that we need to
They don't care. They
spend
don't
on
listen.
this. Do they? Or do they
maybe
not?
they do.
They
I don't
might.
know.
They might be fans. They might be our
Brett
biggest
Coleman
fans.
Baker, brewer and proprietor of Urban Artifact, and then they have Michael D. Morgan, who is a brother on his mother's sister's side with Tracy Morgan.
That Steven Seagal impression was ridiculously good.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Bruce Guy's Happy Hour. This is really ridiculously amazing. I knew.
All of them are.
I called it, Julia. I told you. I said, with the guests they've had so far, they are gonna get Charlie Papazian. They did. They got Charlie fucking Papazian, who is the father of homebrewing, who
Hell
is the
yeah.
creator of the craft brewers.
The Home Brewers
The Home Brewers
Association, the
Association,
GABF.
the GABF.
He's the founder of craft beer festivals.
That's correct.
It's
they
ridiculous.
got the fucking guy. These two guys who, by the way, I feel the gravitas from these guys. They
Speaking
are.
of gravitas, have you ever been called an STD as a term of endearment?
I mean, no. I mean,
Not even in high school?
Ah.
I was gonna say, Mike has a very strange nickname.
Yeah.
But no, that this was every single one of their episodes. We have always said this is amazing. The guests that they were able to get on the show, the conversations that they were able to have, and this is no different at all.
I'm gonna call a shot. Jim
Okay.
Cook's next.
I
I hope so.
wouldn't be surprised. Like, I hate to say, I wouldn't be surprised because I'm still going to be ridiculously excited when I'm going to say it when that happens.
Yeah, but this was.
It might not be the next episode, but one of their episodes. My God.
Yeah.
How could it? How? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
how
yeah,
can
yeah.
you not, right? I mean, when
Yep.
we're talking about and possibly Sam Calagione. I mean that could come up as well.
I
But,
still want a women-centric episode as well. All the women that
Oh,
play
for sure.
such a huge
I'd
role in the
love that, love that,
upcoming
love that.
of craft beer in America.
and
they've even said it too. They've even mentioned
and
how
Jim,
important
if
that's
they have
been.
Jim on, he may be
Sure.
he may talk to that.
Sure, yeah.
But
yeah.
but the Charlie Papazian, the episode was fantastic for all of us that homebrew. Joe, Caroline, myself. I don't know why you don't, Julia, Josh.
I did want to
amazing.
say. Oh, my bad. Go, Marco.
No, it's fucking amazing. These guys got Charlie Papazian, and he's totally cool and chill and awesome on the episode. I don't have his book, although his book is
The Bible of Home Brewers.
the Bible of Home Brewing, but I wouldn't have been a home brewer if he wouldn't have done what he did when he did, and he did it before it was fucking legal.
And that's one of the things I had written down, and Brett and Mike both touched on this near the end of the episode, but I had written down that there is a huge common thread between everyone that they've talked to so far, in that when home brewing was illegal and all of these maestros of this industry were doing it, they almost wanted to get caught because their thought process was, if I get caught, it's publicity for home brewing, which is something that they mentioned near the end of the episode as well.
So he was a teacher, and then he
He was a nuclear engineer and a preschool teacher or
I
elementary
know,
school teacher.
right?
yeah,
Holy
almost
crap.
like you, Joe. I mean, very
Almost like
And Lee,
almost like you.
not quite.
And Lee.
that means Lee needs to
And-
become a
and
home
Lee.
brewer next.
And Lee.
Lee,
but,
we're calling you out.
but the thing is that Joe, do you have notes, comments?
I do. I have comments. So about that specifically. So if home brewing was illegal in the 70s, how did you, as a brewer, how did you learn and make a product? Like if you wanted to open up your own business, right? So how did you pitch your business plan to a bank to get a loan? Or did you go to the bank and say like,
That's true.
"Hey, bank investors, I've never brewed beer before, but
Air quotes. I've never brewed.
I want to open up my own brewery."
But that's really part of it, Joe. Is that he didn't care. He was going to teach people to homebrew, and then he was going to create a magazine he was going to create a center via this magazine for people to know how to homebrew when it was still illegal.
Right.
It's still illegal.
That blows my mind, though. But
So
the
in
other
70
guests that they have, they did do that. They did brew illegally.
Right.
And then
Well,
they did open their own business eventually.
Right. Well,
That's
the dates that I've written down in this was in 76-ish is where Charlie kind of started the newsletter about it, even though it was still illegal. But then it got all the way to 78, which is when the Homebrewers Association was, I think, kind of roughly officially founded. And that's when the law started to change, saying, okay, homebrewing is all right. It's not... I don't think it was fully legal across the United States, but it was more accepted to where people weren't going to be flat out arrested for making beer in their home. But also, I love the story about how they got copies of their newsletter across the United States. It was quite literally a very physical, manual, grassroots effort to even get word out, which is how the Homebrewers Association was
And
able to
then-
be started as a nationwide.
For sure. And then Charlie takes you through how he went overseas and was involved in a beer event, and he's like, how do I do this? How do I get all the best beers in America to be in one place? And he decided, I'm just going to start an event. So he started an event because he went overseas, and
Right.
it's grown into the
mainstay of where craft brewers from around the nation, around the United States, can come together and talk to one another,
Yeah,
compare their beers, have them judged, by these independent panels.
It grew into something where it was just 10 or 20 breweries bringing their beers to an event that you couldn't get everywhere.
Right.
To now it's a conference where people come and brewery professionals come and tout their wares or their influence or their information, and then breweries are able to show their wares and let people outside of their markets taste their stuff. And then it's also a contest where breweries send their stuff, and it's the premier beer judging festival. I mean, throughout essentially the world.
So is it almost fair to say that Charlie is almost the godfather of the craft beer community when it comes to brewers?
I would say so.
Yeah.
almost like Johnny Appleseed.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
would say so. And he's...
I love that.
he's-
Great tie-in with the episode title.
He's extremely humble.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not the way he thinks of himself. But I absolutely think that because of the passion of this man, and when he talks in business today, when you talk to quote unquote passionate people and motivated people, you get this sort of stereotype in your head. When you talk to Charlie Papazian, or when you hear Charlie Papazian, that's not the version of the person you get.
Right.
The version of the person you get is the hippie way back then, and that just sort of loosey-goosey, ended up being, oh my God, I started a revolution.
Right, like one of the quotes that, and this is a rough translation of a quote that they use on the show. He's pretty much the bored nuclear engineer that just wanted to drink good beer.
Yeah.
So he started brewing it on his own. We need to wrap up. This place is going to close. We all need to get home. And I hate that we waited for this recap until the very end because we didn't know the power was going to go out. We didn't know
Right,
that we were going to
yeah.
have these delays in
But
getting the
nonetheless,
episode there.
we're here. This is what we got.
Yeah, so one of the really, really cool things that I absolutely loved about this conversation, which if you're not listening to Brew Skies yet, I don't know what's wrong with you. It is one of the most amazing Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts out there right now. Half of Charlie's classes, his homebrew classes, were comprised of women. who were home brewing.
Yep.
And his thought on that was it's because there weren't enough things out in breweries that they wanted to drink, so they had to brew their own. They had to figure out, well, I'm going to make what I want to drink.
That's interesting.
Which ties into the whole, I would love to see if Brett and Mike end up having a more women-focused episode as part of this season, or maybe next season.
Would be great.
I'm sure they're thinking about it. They are incredibly smart guys. I'm sure that the subject of women in craft brewing and craft beer history, it is not past them. They've even said many times in their episodes, they're fully aware of the role that women have played. I'm really excited to see what they utilize their platform with for that. Let's see, they talked about the origin of the name and the term microbrewery and how that tied to the computer world, which is really, really cool.
It did. So listen to the podcast to find out how that is connected.
And then, Joe, did you have any other final notes before we wrap this all up in a, not a very pretty bow, but a messy bow, but a bow nonetheless, as we need to get out of here before producer Ben kicks us out of here?
Well, I have two thoughts.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs was a brewer.
True that. Yes.
That is
Yes.
that is
By the
my
way, hidden tease, Steve Jobs was a brewer. You learn about his brewing and some of the people he bumped into when you listen to the pod. Good call.
Yep. And then
Or good shout,
Yeah.
as some would say.
they listed a lot of countries that had, quote, the best beer in the world, but they didn't list Germany.
This is true.
And I agree that French beer is mediocre.
It's mediocre and fuck France.
There we go.
So,
There we go.
Hey, this was awesome. We need to do our thing, and
Yes, let's
so,
wrap up and then we'll cheers.
Joe, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Truly
Yeah.
were fun to have and a true add to the show.
The dad
Julia,
joke slayed.
Yeah.
Before we give kind of our thank yous, I just want to say, well, a big thank you to all of our listeners, to everyone that has remained with us until the end of this episode. If you like what we're doing, as I said in the beginning of the show, like, review, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Follow us on social media at TruthBeerPod. Email us with any comments, suggestions, anything like that, truthbeerpod@gmail.com.
Or
Unless it's a
sponsorships.
complaint or sponsorships, please reach out to us. Blocks, we're looking at you. Complaints about the show at Raging Hop on Twitter. Send them that way. And if you would like to send a couple of bucks our way to buy more beer, to upgrade our equipment, to get better at mobile equipment or video equipment, truthbeerpod.com has a big blue support us link. Joe, thank you for being here. Caroline, thank you for letting Joe leave the basement and come sit with us for the evening. Marco, thank you for being amazing as always. And let's cheers and let's get the hell out of Ben's hair, and we will see you guys next week. What do you say?
Sounds good.
Sounds
Cheers.
good. Cheers, guys.
Hi, everybody. It's Marco here with Julia from Truth Beer Pod. Just wanted to take a moment to really speak about something that, I don't know if a lot of people talk about. Whether you're in the brewing industry, hospitality industry, restaurant industry, or not, just, any other sort of field that you may be in, there are times that sometimes you need to talk to someone. And what's important is that everybody know that life is worth living, and tomorrow is something that can bring on new and exciting and beautiful promises. So for those of us that work really hard in this particular industry, I just wanted to take a moment, and Julia agreed to let everyone know that you matter. So with that being said, Julia, why don't you give our listeners some information on, if or when they feel that way, who to contact or how to contact them.
Yeah, if you need to reach out to someone and you don't feel comfortable calling a friend, a family member, going through, if your company has some type of employee support system, you can always call the Suicide Prevention Hotline. Their number is 1-800-273-8255. If you don't want to talk to someone, but you would rather text someone instead, they do have a text line. You can text the number 4 and then the word HOPE, for HOPE, that is 44673 to 741-741, And then starting July 16th nationwide, there will be a new number very similar to 911, but just for just mental health purposes, 988. So again, 988 starts on July 16th. And remember, it is perfectly okay to not be okay. We just want you to reach out and talk to someone if you ever see the need to.
Thanks, Julia.